Hello, I'm Penny Thornton and welcome to my astrology channel. On this video, I'm going to be talking about Aries month ahead, January 2021. And my goodness, what a start to a year that is going to be so different from 2020. And of course, when we think about what we've been through and how hard it was, especially the last 6 months for Aries in particular, it's good to look at a new canvas. I would say that new canvas comes in around the middle of January. So if you start off the month and you think, oh, same old, what's different? Don't get disillusioned because it will change. And of course, that horrible cliche, be the change you want to be, is sort of true. It means, sometimes we do hang around waiting for those opportunities to come to us because we feel we've put in the work or we've done the right thing and still they don't come. That we have to get back in the bus ourselves and we have to make things work. And I think if we have that attitude, we don't expect too much. We often get much, much more in the long run. So Aries, don't be discouraged at the start of this year. Things, I think, will start kicking off as we get to around about the 19th and the 20th of January. But let's take a look at your chart. And that, of course, keeps me on track. I don't lose myself when I see these little glyphs here like this. They speak volumes to me. And maybe if you keep watching me, they'll soon speak volumes to you too. So as you can see, just by looking at this wheel with its little glyphs in it of the planets, I mean, if you just look at it, what does it suggest to you? Well, I tell you what it would suggest to me, that there's a lot going on here. So there's a congestion almost. We've got a big traffic jam here. And over here, we've got a planet on its own, and we've got one sort of here as well. So does this suggest that maybe these planets are stirring the pot a little bit? Well, I don't think we can say that absolutely. But certainly looking at this grouping of planets, and we've had planets really occupying a very small part of the zodiac for a while. And that's why it's been such an intense, difficult time. I mean, whatever our circumstances, it's been relentless. Every day is something. And it's been very frustrating. And certainly Aries, with Mars in your sign these last 6 months, it has been really horrible. I mean, you've always seemed to have been on the spot for some reason or another. It's never stopped. The whole kind of driving of this, machine that we could look at has been hard. But hey, thank goodness. In the early part of on the 6th of January, Mars moves out of your sign and it gets into Taurus. And this means that the area of self-worth starts to get a bit of Mars treatment. Now, actually, that's going to be quite good because self-worth is also money. So the chances are over the next 6 weeks, let's say until perhaps the latter part of February, you may be making a lot of good money, or you'll be taking steps that will help you make money. And we can also look at the fact that there might be a lot going on about money. And when you think of January, it's always a month about money, isn't it? When you think you've got the bills to pay, you've got the taxes to pay. So it is a month like that anyway. So we can see that Mars is getting you energized right from the beginning, getting you to deal with all that stuff. But the other layer of Mars is really that idea that you're going to be worth more. And of course, being worth more means more money, but it also means that perhaps your stock is raised as well, and people are going to think more of you. So all that driving that you did in these past 6 months with Mars in your sign is going to start to pay off. Now, let's get up to this little grouping of planets up here, because as we enter January, the sun, this image here, is in the sign of Capricorn, along with Mercury. This is a new moon in the sign of Capricorn. And Venus is also in Capricorn for part of January. So we've got quite a lot of planets in this area. And that area of the horoscope is to do with your life direction. It's your life goals. For many Arians, this is all about career. For others, it's about your status. You're a spouse, you're a parent, you're a grandparent, whatever. And, so you don't have to have a job to be interested in the 10th house. It's also about looking at the year ahead, if not beyond, and making plans. And sometimes things just come about. You get a phone call, you get a text, an email, you run into somebody, and suddenly plans are being formed. And it's also a time to set out your market stall, Aries, especially if you're, someone who works for themselves or you've got a company. You have to lay out that market stall as soon as you can in January, because this is a time when you can, other people will notice you, a time when you can start to build those kind of deals and arrangements that you will want to have in place for your progress generally. And even, as I said, if you haven't got a career and you don't care, could care less about it, it's still a time when you probably want to air plans with other people, your significant other, members of the family, with a view to saying, why don't we do this in August? Or, you're putting plans together, you're thinking about the future. Shall we move? Shall we do this? Shall we buy a car? Shall we sell everything? These kind of discussions go on in that early part of January. And one of the interesting things is, as we get to the 5th of January, the week opens, Monday is the 4th, so we're right in Pluto's world as we enter that first working week of January. There is something that needs to be dealt with. And I think there are a lot of things here that come into the season. Everything shuts down at Christmas, even though this isn't a normal, this Christmas wasn't normal at all. Still, businesses haven't been around and there's a lot of things not done. So you get into that first working week, either when you get back to work or when the kids go back to school, and various things happen. And right at the beginning of that week, you've got an issue. Something comes up, got to be dealt with. One of the things that, I'll talk a little bit about why Pluto and why Mercury it's important that you get these conversations and things that just pop up out of nowhere and prove challenging. Pluto is the great transformer of the planets, and his keywords are elimination and transformation. So this is all about getting rid of stuff. And we can all do that by clearing out the attic or, doing things like that. It makes us feel great. What we don't like is when things go without our say so. Jobs go, friendships go, relationships go. We don't like that. But it's the same principle. It's clearing a space because we need to channel our energies in new directions. Our destiny doesn't work with these things in it anymore. Our destiny we need to be online, on track with our destiny. And that's why things are removed. And that's why we hit great potholes, because things have to stop and change. And this is a bit of a pattern throughout the months. It's, Mercury will join Pluto on the 5th. The Sun will join Pluto on the 14th. And then on the 28th, Venus will join Pluto. And I think once that's done, you've just cleared everything out. You don't, that's the most powerful time to getting things sorted. As you go through the year, let's look at April, let's look at July, and let's look at October. There will be other periods at which this whole idea of elimination and transformation is present. It's what we should be doing. And especially if you have a birthday somewhere between about the 13th and 17th of April, and also if you have planets and points somewhere between about 23 and 26, 27 of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer, because that's where Pluto is focusing his attentions. And so that process of everything being changed fundamentally, but ultimately for the good, is really happening this year. And in your year ahead forecast, which you'll find online on Astrolutely, I've really gone into this at some depth, so you'll have a longer time to read and absorb it. But we're also looking at changes here because Saturn and Jupiter have moved into Aquarius. And this is all about enterprise. This is all about group work. This is about teamwork, team spirit. And there's a big focus on that throughout 2021, but an even bigger focus on it during the second half of January. You're a real solo player, Aries, and That's great. I think, I'm an Aries too, and we do very well on our own. We like to run the show. But in point of fact, when we're working with other people, working as a team, not only is it more fun, not only do we get further, but we have other influences on our life that change our opinions, and we produce a better product because we've allowed other people to share the stage with us. I think that's a message for the whole of 2021, but it's particularly strong in January. Now, you may join a group, you may join a movement, you may get involved with a cooperative, something like this. And I think that's all to the good. And also, this idea of enterprise, this is the year of enterprise, starting a business, getting a new aspect of your business off and running. You can do fabulous things in the second half of January, especially if you think outside the box. Don't be the same as anyone else. I mean, Aries is, as I said, quite a loner sometimes, but you still look at other people and see, oh, they've done it that way, so I suppose I should do it that way. Trailblaze, Aries. Don't be afraid to do something different, because Uranus is particularly strong, as I'll come and show you in a minute. And, dancing to a different drum is a good thing in 2021. Okay, so I've got to come here. I've got to come to this Mars-Uranus conjunction here, because as soon as Mars moves into the second house, into Taurus on the 6th of January, a few days later, it's going to hook up with Uranus. In fact, it's going to do that on the 20th of January. Now, if that date reminds you of something, it's probably because you're aware that the inauguration of the new president occurs on the 20th of the month. What a day to hold an inauguration. On the one hand, we've got the symbol of something totally different, very new. It's going to rock boats and change things radically. And that's good, because all change is good ultimately. We need to change to grow. That's important. That's important for us as individuals as it is for countries and administrations. We need the new. But, Uranus is very revolutionary and very volatile. And this is a very controversial period. So there could be a lot of upsets around the 20th, and you'll see them all over the world, probably, not just in America, a lot of protests and a lot of upsets. But let's look at what that means for you. I've said to one or two signs, if you know there's something that needs to be done and you're not happy about it, but you don't really know quite how to address it, and you keep thinking, oh, well, I'll wait. That's not the thing to do. You need to address anything that's a little bit difficult or you're not happy with it. Do it before the 15th of the month. Because by the time you get to this area, around about the 20th, little things will just spark big fires. It's like a little spark will ignite a forest fire, and you'll just go up like, dynamite. So deal with it before in a gentle, common sense way, so that when Mars and Uranus come together on the 20th, that can be instead something that gives you great ideas, kind of that thunder flash of understanding, and let's do it this way, and let's do things differently. And so Uranus can come in as the awakening, as the awakener and the trailblazer. Let him play that role in your life, not as the disturber, the disruptor, and lots of things break up under Uranus, and you don't really want that to happen. Now, I'm going to also, I should mention the new moon here. The new moon occurs on the 13th of January, and it's just before the sun conjoins Pluto. So this is rather a powerful time. And you may want to get rid of something at this point. Maybe you'll realize that this job isn't right for you, or maybe you'll think this course of action isn't right for me, and what I want is something different. So Pluto gives way to a new chapter, which is a good thing. And you need to think that however events pan out at that time. But here, a couple of weeks later, we have the full moon. So we've got the moon in Leo, the sun in Aquarius, and Jupiter up close and personal to the sun. So this is a massive, massive alignment. It's an alignment of opportunity. And this isn't going to be an identikit picture for every Aries. There are going to be some Arians who, around this time, on that full moon opposing Jupiter, are going to be in receipt of a great offer, something fabulous. And you'll think, wow, that's great. Let's go forward with that. So it doesn't need to come out of the blue. It may be something you've been working towards, but it's at this time it gets decided. For other Arians, it's rather the reverse. It's almost as though you'd had your high hopes on this, you'd looked for this, and then what happens instead is that it's all gone belly up. It's all, it hasn't worked at all. But in both cases, it serves a purpose of getting you on a new track. So it's easy to see when you're given an opportunity that you can see opening doors for you and opening a way forward. That's a wonderful thing. You see it right away. But if something ends or it doesn't work or it's a really difficult time, it's hard to see how that can be something to celebrate. But what will come in its place is to celebrate. And I can't really emphasize that enough, Aries. So I'm just going to come back here and wrap up. And I'm going to wrap up by talking about Mercury, because Mercury is going to turn retrograde on the 30th. And it's always good to know when Mercury is going to turn retrograde, because we can try to get as many dates in diaries and as many of our ducks in a row as we possibly can before that date. But I have to say that a retrograde Mercury can be a beautiful thing as well, because sometimes we go back in time. We go on nostalgic trips, sometimes quite literally. We go back to places we haven't been to for a long time. And that's a beautiful thing. We can run into people by accident who we haven't seen for ages, or somebody can be in touch with us from years back. That can happen on a retrograde Mercury. And perhaps most important for us Aries, are always a bit, we jump the gun far too often. We're far too speedy for our own good. And sometimes we need to go back on a decision we made and also think and reflect about something, redo it, rework it. And again, a retrograde Mercury will help us do that. And Mercury will be retrograde until the 21st of February. So it's quite a little period there for us to reflect and review. So all in all, that is the first month of 2021. And as I said, don't be too disappointed if the first half is really clunky and you're not enjoying it. It will give way. Remember, you can't have that Jupiter Saturn in that area of your horoscope without making some really great gains in 2021. So thank you for listening. Have a very happy new year. And I look forward to seeing you again on my next video, monthly video, next month. Bye for now.